Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You are tuned into another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. Yes, like we have been treated to one of the better Springbok matches in a while in terms of innovation on the pitch and attack on the pitch, defense. What a second test against Italy, and it was so good being in the thick of things then, Gqeberha. It was an absolute treat at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. And how great was it to see that the Boks were thinking out of the box, and they incorporated some magical plays with Mani Libbok and Grant Williams steering that attack. They looked absolutely flawless. And then also credit to that defense because they scrambled in a period where Italy looked to get some tries, but they just staved them off with defense after defense. We'll bring you all of that today, and then please don't forget to click that like button, subscribe to the channel as we chat all things Springbok rugby. I don't know about you, Mike, but it was definitely a brilliant match where innovation on the attack just showed another side
Yeah,
of the box and what they can do.
yeah, and and it was literally from the first kickoff. I mean,
Yeah,
how bizarre was that start to the match? Look, it didn't. It kind of fizzled out, of course, because the Springboks, they were trying to get the scrum, from that sort of innovative kickoff, shall we say, to make a statement with the scrum immediately, and then of course they were too early with the shove, so it fizzled out. But the point is, they were prepared to start a match. I mean, in a way that I don't think any other Test match in the history of rugby has ever started. Yeah,
yeah,
and I mean, no one polarizes opinion like the Springboks do and Rassie Erasmus in his innovations, because there
yeah,
were people screaming blue murder about how rude it was for the Springboks to start a match like that, disrespecting Italy. Other people saying, "Wow, what a way to do it! That's thinking out the box." Yeah, just my thoughts on that initial kickoff as well is the referee got it completely wrong, because there shouldn't have been a scrum. It should have been a penalty to Italy, because Andre Estesen jumped the gun and was ahead of the kicker when he got the ball. So, but I mean, yeah, I don't blame the referee for being a little sort of nonplussed in that situation. I think everyone was watching that, thinking, "What on earth is going on?" Um, but yeah, innovation from the first whistle to the last. I'm just loving watching the Springboks, because you don't know what's going to happen next. There's that
yeah.
that kind of variation they bring into their game, and then they're playing fantastic rugby as well. I mean, and you're right, to shut Italy out to 0 points. I mean, they got 24 the week before in Pretoria, and they never looked like scoring a try. So yeah, I think the whip was very much cracked in training before that match in Gqeberha.
Yeah, and the technicalities in that kickoff, it's amazing how many in rugby's laws there are or there were in that kickoff. So as soon as a player moves in front of a ball from a kickoff, the law states it can either be a retake of the kick, if I'm not mistaken, or it's a scrum on the halfway line from where they kicked. So there's no offside initially from a
Oh,
kickoff.
okay.
Yeah, so that is it. But then there's another law in the book, and I think Nigel Owens went on that, saying that well, the box deliberately um, broke a law. So if you deliberately infringing on the laws, it's immediately a penalty kick. So there's a lot of talk, like you said, around that kickoff and all of that. But if you listen to how the box explained this, and Rassie made it quite clear, he also sent out a tweet, I think 2 days ago, where he showed how Italy literally just navigated the scrums. The scrum half throws the ball in under the lock's feet straight back to the eighth bin. That's channel one scrum ball.
Yeah.
You are not going to be able to shove them off that ball. So are they not navigating rugby's laws by not
Yeah.
allowing a scrum to be contested? And that's the sort of gray areas that Rassie is trying to map out and see how he can innovate to work around that. And I think we're
Yeah.
going to see a lot more things like this from Rassie. And it's clear that they are trying to work to their strengths, the box, but then also try to shut out the other teams' strengths, or perceived strengths, where they get channel one
Yeah.
ball and it goes out. So interesting debate around that, and also that lift in open play to generate a maul.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 tries scored off that. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and it has been done before. To a degree, look, we know it was done. Rassie told us that he got it from the under 14 Bs. Jeepers, those kids must be chuffed with themselves that they
Yeah.
inspire,
Shout
a
out to
schoolboy under
Lewis.
14. Yeah, inspires the Springboks to emulate them. Wow, that coach of their team, wow, he's got a feather in his cap. But I think it's been done to a limited degree by some French teams, but not quite to that scale. And it's hard to defend against. And look, I think the World Rugby will immediately be thinking, yeah, but this is. Should we allow this? Should we manufacture another law to catch Rassie out? But it was just great innovation, and like you said, from each one of those malls, they got a try. Um, yeah, so the innovations of the Springboks is one thing, and it's just wonderful, and I think it's great for the game. The other thing is how the rugby world reacted to what the Springboks did. Those infield mauls, the kickoffs, um, and like I said earlier, the Springboks polarized rugby opinion in the world, because there's still this sort of, if I can call it, a hangover from the days when the Springboks were perceived as Neanderthals who
Yeah,
just
these
ruled by
bullies.
brute
Yeah.
force. Yeah, bullies. Yeah, so the Springboks have had that reputation for decades, and there's still people caught in that old way of thinking about South African rugby. That's all the Springboks have to offer. They bully boys, they Neanderthals, they troglodytes from the prehistoric era, who who just um, who just club the heck out of and interestingly, also Springboks were always seen as one-dimensional with no thought. They innovation and the Springboks were two words you never heard in one sentence. And there's still people, rugby people around the world, who think that way about the Springboks and just can't bring themselves to actually say, well, this team bears no resemblance to Springbok teams of other eras. And so the knee-jerk reaction in the people who still have that feeling about the Springboks is, oh, they're cheating again, or there's a negative sort of perception of the Springboks. But slowly but surely, there are people, and I read quite a lot about this on various websites. There are other people who are starting to say, wow, the Springboks should be saluted. Rugby needs to keep evolving all the time to keep people interested. And Rassie Erasmus and the Springboks are doing that. They're doing novel things. They're thinking out the box. They're doing things that people are sitting back in their armchairs and saying, jeepers, did you see that? And how can that not be good for rugby? It's not just the same old thing week in, week out. We've got a team, and we should be really proud of the Springboks, who are pathfinders, um, breaking new territory, breaking new ground all the time. Um, and, that's good for the game. So I salute Rassie Erasmus, and long may the Springboks continue to innovate and lead the way in world rugby.
Yeah, yeah. So now it's been what, the bomb squad? It's been the cards that Rassie has had next to the field while he was director of rugby and he got banned from the field. It's the short kickoff
Disco
and
lights, the disco lights.
then disco lights, and then now the midfield more that he's. I mean, no, people are not going to bring that into Test rugby, but the Boks have had the guts to do that. So
Yeah.
so there's some proper innovation since
So
2018.
and
Mhm.
there's also things like using the wings to throw the ball in and the lineouts.
Let's not forget
Uh,
that.
let's not forget Cheslin becoming a, and that's the thing. People, there's this misperception that only the hooker is allowed to throw the ball in the lineout. But
Wow.
but there's nothing in the rule book that says
Anyone
that the
can.
person wearing the number 2 jersey must throw the ball in. But many teams think it can only be because they're not edge. I mean, there, there was an era where only the wings threw the ball in, and then it changed to the hooker. But yeah, I mean, Rassie's very aware of what he can and what he can't do on the field, and anyone can throw the ball in. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
But you don't see other teams doing that.
Exactly, and don't forget also the hybrid backline player now. We saw the hybrid forward in Gqeberha. Now we have the hybrid
Yeah,
player in Andre
yeah.
Esterhuizen. But also another point that was made in Gqeberha when we discussed this was the importance of having Jaco Paper there, a seasoned
Oh,
international
yeah.
ref who knows the laws in and out, who's worked with World Rugby and
Mm,
the refs and all of that. So we must not
yeah.
forget his importance in that Springbok side. And it's amazing how he is actually now being brought up to press conferences as an
Mm,
assistant coach almost
yeah.
on the day.
Yeah. And on the Monday after that Pretoria test, so now they're in Gqeberha to start preparing 100%. There's Jaco Paper. Uh, and the big question coming out of the Pretoria test was, were Italy strictly legal at the breakdowns, where they flooded it with people, where uh, they had a few little tricks up their sleeves to slow the Springbok ball down. So what do we have? The permanent referee in the Springbok system. I mean, yeah, he's part of the management team. He's not someone that they bring in when they need him every couple of months as a consultant. He is part of the
Exactly.
management team. And I'm not sure there any other teams in World Rugby have that. But anyway, there he is on the Monday after controversial elements of the Italy performance in Pretoria. And the breakdown is going to come up because that is where the Springboks, and they didn't lose the game in Pretoria. They reacted as if they did. They still won by 19 points or whatever it was. But the breakdown area stopped them from an optimum performance. I mean, they could have won by far more if they'd got that quick ball from the breakdown. But Italy, well coached, had a plan. And there's Jaco Paper to say, very strategically, if you like. Um, he's a very well-spoken guy, and he just said, "Look, the breakdown area. Uh, but look, we haven't got any problem with the officials, but we just want to ask a few questions. We just want some feedback." So he's being very diplomatic. That's the word I'm looking for. Extremely diplomatic, saying, "Look, maybe it was us who didn't react, or maybe there's something we didn't interpret well, or he's he's being very nice about it. He's got kid gloves on there, saying that we've asked World Rugby just to give us a bit more clarification on the breakdown and how Italy approached it. Bang! 6 days later, they play against Italy in the second test, and the breakdown's a different story. The officials approached it in a different way, and having Gqeberha there on the Monday, that's what caused it. That was the result. So again, not many. I don't know of another international team that has a permanent referee on their staff. And then was something fixed by Gqeberha appearing at a press conference on the Monday.
And just listening to them after Gqeberha and then heading into Georgia this week. I mean, it's been, and they've said it. Yeah, they had the Babas game, and it was a festival game. They played against guys who cleared in Cape Town and and had a rugby match on the Saturday. But then looking at that Italy test, that first one, and how they improved towards the second one. Now they're looking to step it up a notch with another change team heading into Mbombela Stadium. I mean, debuts for the three guys at the front of the scrum. Quite important guys in the Springbok cog. Just looking at that gradual build-up and improvement, do you feel there's still areas that the Boks can do better in heading into Georgia?
Look, as we know, this has always been a block of 4 games. And the whole idea was to get everyone in that 40-odd squad that he's got to have at least get 2 more caps to their name, and in particular to bring new guys in. And then what he would have wanted was incremental improvement in performance over these 4 games. And yes, people were disappointed by the second test in Pretoria, the first test in Pretoria, the second game. But that's part of the teething process of starting the season. So they had the festival game against the Barbarians, the Babalas Barbars. Then they had an extremely good first half against Italy in Pretoria. Let's not forget they were winning 28-3 at half time, and that was a solid Springbok performance. And then they lost their way in the second, and that's how people remember them from that test match. Then the second test in Gqeberha, I thought they were outstanding. They fixed a lot of their stuff from that first test. Their defense shut them out. They fixed up that breakdown. They had the innovations we've spoken about. They scored some fantastic tries. I actually fear for Georgia this week in Mbombela. I think the Boks are going to want an extremely emphatic performance to close this phase down. Remember, after this game, they've got 4 weeks before they play again, and that obviously will be the first test against the Wallabies in Johannesburg. So they need to have a really good performance here, a strong performance in which they tick all their boxes, and then this phase is closed off. They put it to bed, and then they've got 4 weeks. They'll obviously have a little bit of a break, and then they've got a couple of weeks they'll be back in camp to prepare for those 2 tests against the Wallabies, and then straight after that it's to New Zealand. So it's important for them to sign off in this block with a big performance. And I look at that team, and yes, there's lots of changes, but wow, I think it's potentially the strongest team that Rassie selected, particularly when you look at that bench. That is an incredibly powerful bench. So, look, where can they improve? I'm not too sure exactly where they can improve. They'll just want to step up in every single area. And I look at that team now. We spoke last week about how exciting it was to see Grant Williams partnering with Marnie Lubbock.
Yeah.
Now we've got Grant Williams
Yes.
partnering with Sasha Feinberg for Zulu. Wow, that could explode beautifully. Yeah, and Damien back there as well. Fussy hasn't played for a while now. Him at the back, coming into the back line with Sasha. A couple of skip passes, him coming in. Wow, I do think that Georgia could be in for a long evening. Yeah, Eben and that there's a lot of really good players there. Yeah, so I worry about Georgia. Um, Look, they play. They were beaten by the Cheetahs in their warm up game, a very close game. Although, as Rassie has pointed out, half of their first choice players didn't play in that game or were on the bench, or so they will be marginally better, but will they be that much better than they were against the Cheetahs to withstand what will be a Springbok onslaught? And just one more thing to add, and why I worry about Georgia is the Boks love playing at that Mbombela Stadium. Some of their best performances of the Rassie Erasmus era have been down at Mbombela. That stadium is magnificent. The crowd support there is always brilliant. There's just something in the air at Mbombela where the Boks just love it. I mean, they've had a couple of really strong performances there. Their last two games, the Eben record-breaking game when he broke the record for most caps there last year against Argentina. The Boks were magnificent. The year before, they played the All Blacks, and that's in Mbombela Stadium, and what a fantastic game that was. The Boks just brilliant. So, yeah, sure, we'll get to the score prediction a bit later, but I've just got a feeling the Boks are going to be exceptional this game.
Yeah, and there's a couple of guys who now has had a feel of playing together with each other. So that is also a very good sign. And to think of what Rassie has been saying, I stand to be corrected, but he would have used the entire squad by the end of this weekend. I can't think
Yeah.
at the top of my head now who hasn't played, except for Jean Klein, who played the Barbas, but he's gone
Mhm.
with an injury now. But everyone's playing, everyone's made
Yeah.
their Springbok debut, the ones that got the match game
Mhm.
time against the Barbas, and now some of them
Mm.
are making their
Yeah.
debut in the final game against Georgia. Vincent Chituka had his debut, and it's
Mm.
amazing how the Springboks can debut five,
Yeah.
six, seven guys, give game
Yeah.
time to guys like Edwin van der Merwe, who has had one cap.
Yeah.
Now he's on two with three tries. He will be looking to add to his tally
Yeah.
this coming weekend.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to see that how the Boks are expanding their player
Mm.
base but winning and improving their
Yeah.
gameplay at the same time.
Mm.
I don't know a lot of teams who will be able to
Yeah.
do that in World Rugby.
Yeah. And look at the front row that's starting in this game. So you've got debutants there. You've got Bowen Venter, you've got Marnus van der Merwe, and Neethling Forshey. Now, you look at that front row, and people will say, "Oh, yeah, we're a bit well. These guys aren't these
Green,
aren't the
yeah.
faces and names that we know." Um, there's not caps. I think am I correct? Because they got
That's
cap. They
not,
played
not,
against
yeah.
the Barbarians. Yeah, they played against the Barbarians. Some of them, but Rassie's not stupid. We know that. That's stating the obvious. But I mean, those three guys actually know each other from the Cheetahs. They all were Cheetahs players, so they played together. It's Manus van der Merwe's hometown. he went to Nelspruit High School, and I think Rassie likes to add those little nuances when like a guy making his debut in his
It's brilliant,
hometown
yeah.
or getting his milestone in his hometown. He's quite good at pulling the strings there to manufacture those little things. But those three guys are making their debuts. But no one who knows the rugby will look at them and say, "Jeepers, they are raw players who might be found out." I mean, Bowen Fence has been playing in the Northern Hemisphere for ages. We know how good Marinus van der Merwe has been playing in Wales. And Neertling Fouché, in my opinion, should have been a Springbok long ago. But for the fact that Springboks have got so much depth in the front row, and Neertling has just been unlucky in my opinion. But wow, watch that front row go. They might have naught, but those guys are all hungry, determined, and experienced in their various spheres, in their clubs, in provinces they play for. So that's because none of them have been capped. It doesn't mean it's a weak front row, not in the slightest, because none of them are young either. They all kind of late 20s guys,
The experienced guys, yeah.
um, experienced guys. So, I mean, then you go through the rest of the team, and it's all guys who've been capped and experienced, and all the faces we know and love. No, I think it's a really good Springbok team that's going to play this weekend.
And we get to the point where I'm just glad last week my prediction was almost spot on. When I saw that team, I knew it's gonna be close to a 50 score against Italy, just because
Yeah.
it was an attacking team. But something different this week. We know a physical team,
Mm.
players coming from a country known for their wrestling. So yes, like the box will be in for some hard hits, but I still feel like you said, there's just an it's an amazing team that was selected, a team that can run, a team that can
Yeah.
be physical. So my feeling is it's going to be a runaway score again, especially
Mm.
in Bombela. That's always like you said, a great place for the box to play. So
Mm.
I'm predicting another 50 pluser there
Yeah.
for the Springboks.
Yeah.
What's your take?
Yeah. I had a look at a couple of betting sites, saw what the bookies have to say, and they are setting the handicap at box to win by at least 34. I think that is charitable by the bookies. I think they'll win by a lot more than 34. I'm convinced of it. It's like I said, they love playing in Bombela. It's their last game of this block where they need to make a statement and sign off and go into their break, with a good performance, not an iffy one like Pretoria. So they're motivated to finish off well. They're in a stadium they love. It's a very well balanced starting 15, and then a heck of a bench, a really star-studded bench coming on 50 plus minimum. I think the Boks are going to run away with it, at least 50 points.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. We've also to just quickly move away from the box and just a short chat on we are going to expand on the appointment of Johan Ackerman as the Bulls' new head
Mm.
coach in next week's episode. But what I've heard, and it's finally been confirmed, but when the Boks played the Barbas, it was always a two-horse race between Coach Akis and Franco Smith. I just felt Franco still has unfinished business
Mm.
in Glasgow, and it would have taken a lot for him to come back,
Mm.
especially looking at rumors that he's eyeing the top
Yeah.
post in South Africa, which is the
Yes.
box spot. But for me, Johan Ackerman, I think he's the
Mm.
perfect solution for the Bulls. Knows how
Oh,
to keep a team together. We look at the Lions. They didn't really have the player base to go all the way 2016, 17,
mm,
18 Super Rugby. But this Bull squad, I mean, it's a
mm.
package that he's getting
Yeah,
with plenty of Springboks. So pressure will be on him
yeah,
starting the
yeah.
season.
Yeah, no, no. Look, he's now getting a team that's close to the finished product. Where the Lions, he had to build
Yeah,
them up from
yeah,
scratch.
to build.
Um,
Yes,
so and then when he coached at Gloucester as well, he had to turn them around as well and build them up. Um, but now it's a bit of a different situation for him. For the first time in his coaching career, he's getting a solid product. And well done to Jake White for what he did. Jake built that Bulls team up over 4 or 5 years or so. Um, and I do think that Johan Ackerman now can take him to another level. His man management is just magnificent. He can get things out of players that other coaches can't. Um, so I think he will take them to a new level. I think it's a fantastic appointment, great for South African rugby. I just think the Bulls are going to be unbeatable. You'll forgive my
unbeatable.
hackneyed cliche. Yeah, no, no. Jan Ackerman is a great South African rugby man, and I think it's really uplifting for South African rugby to have him now coaching again at the top level in this country.
Mike, thanks again for the chat. It's been lekker. Next week we'll be back with the full Bok picture and how they are heading into the rugby championship. Of course, the guys will get a week's break after the Georgia match is done, but then I think it's around about 35, 36 guys that Rassie will bring back for the rugby championship. Thanks for tuning in. It's been another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. We try to bring you the things that happen inside the squad, but behind the scenes, like that all that innovation that we've been able to hear about, that you probably will get half of it. We'll be back next week with the verdict on the 4 matches in the mid-year, and then also we'll unpack everything around Johan Ackerman's appointment and what the Bulls stand to gain with him in their corner. He's been doing very well with the junior box over in Italy at the World Rugby Under 20 Championship. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.